our ceremony today.
Beautiful. I think it would be also in your.
Say that again.
I think it'd be helpful if you shared a little bit about your background and why you do what you do. If you want to share about that right now before we start, that would be awesome.
Sure. Hold on for a second. Let me see who's coming on board. Just want to welcome everybody who is arriving.
Welcome. I'm Talia from Healer Collective. We are an agency that represents top healers and practitioners in the wellness space, all different modalities. And we've partnered with WellSet, who is the country's first booking platform for practitioners of all different modalities, to bring you this series. And today we are here again with Phillip Scott of the Lakota tradition, who has a lot of really incredible ceremonial prayers and meditations and to offer us. So we're very lucky to have him today, especially on Earth Day, which he just explained is every day for him, which I feel that too. Yeah, and it's also the full moon. I'm looking up. Yes. So thank you for being here, Phillip. Would love to hear more about your background before you get started. And yeah.
Good. I just want to welcome everybody from various parts of the world in ceremony before an altar. I actually set up my altar earlier today and have been praying and in observance of this particular sacred day, which is the new moon. I'm a ceremonial chief in the Lakota tradition, as well as in the Native American church, and a practitioner of traditional Indigenous medicine. As I was sharing with Talia, for me, every day is Earth Day. Every day is an opportunity for us to realign and remember and honor and celebrate our beloved mother, who has given rise, who has birthed everything within creation. And so every ceremony that we do is an honoring and celebration and healing of her, as we also utilize these ceremonies to heal ourselves. I have, when I scheduled this particular gathering, I was not even aware that it is Earth Day, because as I said, for me, every day is Earth Day. Before we dive into this ceremony, I'd like to ask each and every one of you to have a glass of water nearby. Try to fill this water, the glass up almost to full. And this will be a part of our ceremony that we are going to infuse with our prayers today. There's much to discuss regarding the new moon. I'm also, I think at this time, it's really important that we not only speak about what's transpiring, but actually act. I think there's quite a bit of rhetoric, quite a bit of conversation about what is transpiring with this pandemic, people's theories, the confusion. And so I would like to really slice through that today with us being able to deeply engage and exercise our spirits through ceremony and through prayer, which I do believe is vital for our well-being and our sobriety and our sanity right now, as many of us have been sequestered due to perhaps involuntary circumstances. So therefore, it's also an opportunity for us to allow this pandemic to serve as an initiation for our species so that we can awaken to remember our relationship to the earth. And I see this as a great purification, great opportunity. It's a rite of passage for us collectively to remember and cultivate our personal, intimate relationship with the natural world. So if you're just joining us, we welcome you. And I kindly ask that you obtain a glass of water in order to be able to participate fully in the ceremony that we are soon to conduct. In the meantime, I will continue to share a little bit about what is transpiring until all of us have the water that we require for the ceremony. The prophecies have spoken of this time. The indigenous dreamers and visionaries for hundreds, if not thousands of years, have revealed this particular moment, namely that the unsustainable trajectory of ourselves as human beings would result in this level of suffering, not only for ourselves, but for all of our relations. And the indigenous nations of this world have continued to advocate and through warriorship to ensure her survival. Individuals that have literally placed their lives on the line to ensure that our water remains pure, that this earth is undefiled, that the foods that we consume are not contaminated. And so, because we as the grandchildren on this earth have not been heeding the counsel of our elders, which not only is our mother, the earth, but the elementals, earth, air, fire, water, the viruses and the bacteria that have been here for billions of years, our plant nations and our animal relations, we being the last to be created, we haven't been heeding and remembering our sovereign and sacred original instructions is to steward and protect this earth and all of our relations upon her. Consequently, in general, when individuals don't heed or are not paying attention, then there's usually wake-up calls. And this is this opportunity that we have now. And we are not engaging in a war with this virus. It is our wake-up call. This isn't a terrorist attack. These are our teachings. I keep sharing this now in all of the moments that I've been asked to speak to what is occurring. This is a significant awakening and rite of passage for us collectively when we can be humble enough to go within, to go inward, because obviously it's kind of a form of a, shall we say, vision quest, if you will, right? So in the Lakota tradition, they say hamblecha, which is a crying for a dream, and that involves the fasting, from food, water, and sleep for 4 days and 4 nights. But obviously, it's not that we're fasting, but we are being asked to remove certain conveniences, certain things that we've learned to take for granted. And so to go without these things is our opportunity to sacrifice, to also understand what is truly essential for our survival and prayerfully evaluate and restructure the entire foundation of our society and how we can live in peace, balance, and harmony upon this planet, not only in relationship to her, but in relationship to one another, as well as to all of our relations. For the truth is, when we encounter crises, when we encounter challenges, we have an opportunity to see what we're really made of. And certainly this pandemic is no exception. We begin to see the structures in place that are disenfranchising certain individuals. We're seeing certain leaders step up who have the best interests of the individuals in mind and the people that they serve, and others who are oblivious or actually nefarious in their actions in relationship to other people. In our own lives, we can really evaluate our own relationship to fear, our own relationship to what's happening in the collective. And so these opportunities reveal the truth of who we are individually and collectively. So I really encourage you today to look at what this has been fostering in your own life, what has been excavated or resurrected as a result of your participation in this collective rite of passage, if you will. I'm trusting that everyone now has their glass of water. And so before I continue to speak, as is traditional, I would kindly request that you close your eyes and either place your feet on the earth or to sit upon the earth yourself. I'm going to sing a traditional song, and then we're going to pray so that we can bring our minds, our hearts, our spirits, and our bodies into alignment with the intent of this ceremony, which is an honoring of the new moon, an honoring of our relationship to the earth. I will be singing actually a song in honor of the earth today for this very reason. Though, as I mentioned, for me, every day is Earth Day. Every day is an honoring of the mother and an awareness that every step we take upon her, she is kissing our feet and supporting us through the sacrifice of our relations who provide our food, the beings that are literally giving of their lives so that we can also continue to live. And that's the paradox of existence, that our food consists of souls. And therefore, it's important that we honor these beings that are giving of their lives to us at this time. tunkashila wakantanka. Great mystery, great spirit, ancestors, holy ones who dwell beyond the stars, who visit us in our dreams and walk among us. To Grandmother Moon in her time of newness, to Grandfather Sun, who sheds the light of the day upon us, illuminating our paths. To the Thunder Nations, who bring the sacred waters from the sky. To the four directions and winds that blow, carrying our prayers for those whom we love. To our beloved Mother, the Earth, and to all of our relations upon her, Shunkoa Kansapa humbly expresses gratitude for my life, for this sacred breath, the purity of this breath, for this glorious day that we may gather as a family, as a people, to celebrate the newness of our grandmother, to honor our blessed Mother, the Earth, on this day and every day of our lives. I pray for Woyushkanui Chosne, health and happiness to my relations who are gathered here, to their friends, to their families. I ask you humbly, Creator, that you protect and watch over them, allowing them to remain healthy and safe in this time of uncertainty, this time of confusion and fear. Creator, I pray for those that have made their journey as a result of being touched by this virus. Bless them on their way home to you without complication. For those that are left behind to remember and honor the memories of their loved ones, may this time be one of compassion and mercy. I ask for prayers, Creator, for our relations, physicians and nurses, first responders, those, Creator, that cleanse the hospitals, those that are maintaining the networks that allow societies to continue to flow and operate, for all beings, Creator, who are doing their part in service to this world at this time, who are selflessly sacrificing. We express our gratitude to you. For those spirits of the land upon which we dwell, we ask for your guidance, for dreams that help us on our journey. I acknowledge the indigenous nations of this world for the potent ceremonies that they have and that they share to allow people to have communion with the Creator, the unseen, with beloved Mother Earth, and to all of our relations as well. I express gratitude for their sacrifices to protect and preserve these so that they may be passed in a good and humble way. I pray, Creator, that we may wake up as a species to understand the teachings that are being transmitted to us at this time, so that we can shapeshift the current circumstances, so that all of our relations in all realms of creation will be able to thrive and live in balance, peace, and harmony upon this earth for 7 generations and beyond. We thank you for this way to pray. Ahecha tualo, aho mitakuye oyasin. I'd like you all just to take a breath right now. Breathe deep into your womb, ladies. Gentlemen, into your solar plexus. Bring yourself and rivet yourself to this present moment. What is vital for our survival now? That has been a part of this call for so long, is that we heal our Mother Earth. We acknowledge her. We are aware of our conduct upon her, so that we do not continue to engender suffering for herself, for all of her relations, and for ourselves, but rather that we act with awareness and compassion so that she and all of us can thrive upon this earth. Coming back to the fundamental basics is critical. To feel yourself upon the earth, to breathe. You know, today, after our ceremony, I ask you to remove your socks and your shoes and to stand outside. Place your feet directly on the mother. Feel her connection. Feel the intimate relationship and communication that exists between the earth and the moon in this cyclical dance of time. With this sacred water now, I ask you to take the water and the glass that you have. The new moon has to do with the intention of planting seeds. These seeds are our prayers. These seeds are the articulation of our intentions, of what it is that we wish to concentrate upon. I know that there is still much heaviness within our hearts and our minds, our spirits, our bodies, regarding the uncertainties that we will still encounter. There is still so much that we have yet to learn about what's occurring, to learn how to decipher the truth, not to be confused by the rhetoric, as well as the purposeful dissemination of misinformation, but rather to come back to the truth. Also to trust our hearts and our spirits in this time. Yeah. Your body is a somatic antenna that has a connection to the earth, to the source, to pay attention to our dreams. Right now, because of the sequestration, a lot of this energies go inward. And as a result of this interning, there's an opportunity to allow the energies that are often expressed in the externalized world to be redeployed toward dreaming. So it's an opportunity for you to open yourselves up to instructions and guidance and insight from those who dwell on the other side, the ancestors who can use the medium of dreams to help you to communicate, that they can transmit with clarity the direction that you are to take in this world. Perhaps some of you are concerned about your welfare, your finances, whether you have a job in the future, or how to support yourself now. These are legitimate concerns. And so Indigenous people will seek answers and guidance from the unseen, from the ancestors, from the guardians and the benefactors, the allies who dwell in other dream times and other realities with whom we can have communion with through our dream time. And so we plant seeds today, seeds to allow things in our lives that we desire to flourish, not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones. Perhaps there are those close to you whom you know who are touched by this virus, who are struggling for their lives. We can pray for them today. That this medicine can ripple from our virtual hoop to touch their lives in a good way. So I ask you to hold this water in your hand, in your left hand, support it underneath with your left hand. And I'm going to sing some water songs here because water is also aligned with the moon, right? Because our grandmother pulls the water, allows the water to move as a result of her love and her magnetism in relationship to her daughter, the earth. And so we too are touched because we are comprised of water, of this sacred and holy medicine, the first medicine that human beings are suspended in within the amnion of our biological mother's womb. And so we are also drawn, we feel the pull and the tides, right? We are affected by the tides and the lunar pull through our emotions, and for women through the moon time that they have, their bleeding cycle monthly, for those that still have this particular ceremony. And make no mistake that the moon time is a ceremony for women on this earth. And so hold and suspend this water with your left hand. I'm going to sing some songs to honor the waters now. Earlier, the song of the drum, we celebrated the earth. And so we are allowing that connection to be fortified through this ceremony today. So as I sing these songs, I ask you to pray into the water, because water is a medicine that carries and holds memory. It can hold our intentions and our prayers. And so as I sing these songs, I ask you to pray into the water for your life, for your loved ones. Prayer for me is unfettered heart speak. You open your heart and pray. And as a consequence of these prayers, you may be compelled to weep. And those tears that flow from your eyes are a blessing, which is why in Lakota, the word prayer means wochekia, which is to cry. That we open our hearts and the words issue forth like a fountain as we humbly petition the Creator, the earth, the ancestors, all of our relations for assistance, humbly asking for the things that we need in our lives, our families and our friends' lives, this world's life. So as I begin to sing these songs, please pray into that water from your hearts. Holy water, you know, and oh, and holy water, you know, Money we Tony, you know, and oh, and well, you know, holy water, you Please let God be on our way, no way, way, holy water, Rihanna, way. Oh, Now that you have infused your prayers into this medicine, into this water, I ask you to drink this water down. Feel this medicine flow through not only your body, but your entire spirit. Please drink it in its entirety right now. And again, feel the prayers flowing through you. So I believe that we've come near the conclusion of our ceremony today, if I'm not mistaken. And well, actually, no, we start at 4:30. Is that correct, Talia? Oh, no longer have the Healer Collective with us. So if there's anyone that has any questions at this time, I'd like to open it up before we continue with our ceremony, which actually commenced at 4:30. So we do have a little bit more time. I'm going to go to the chat to answer some of your questions here. So the question is there a reason to hold the glass in one's left hand? And it can be held in either hand, but the reason why I ask you to hold it in the left hand is because it aligns with the heart, right? So kind of similar to, you know, in the Lakota tradition, we have a holy instrument known as the Chanupa Wakan, which means sacred or mysterious pipe, right? There's a misnomer, they call it the peace pipe, but that's actually incorrect. It's actually, Wakan means mysterious or sacred. So it's called the sacred pipe or the mysterious pipe. And when we hold the pipe to smoke, and again, another correction I'd like to make in terms of that is that we do not actually smoke tobacco within the sacred pipe. There's actually another medicine which is used to send smoke, which is a visible prayer, just like the water is a visible prayer that you just partaken of. Similarly, with the sacred pipe, the mixture that is ignited in the bowl and then released is also a visible prayer. But we do not employ tobacco. But once it's loaded and we're holding the sacred pipe, the bowl, which is made out of a red stone that can only be located in one portion of North America, which is in Pipestone, Minnesota. It's a red stone which connects with the heart. And from there, we hold the bowl with our left hand, so it's also being supported and connecting to the physical heart. So I pray that that answers the question. We want to allow that water to be close to our heart as well. Because as I mentioned, we also articulate our hearts through prayer. And so it's an alignment with the heart and the water and the prayer. Thank you for the question. Any other questions people may have? Yes, so the question is the Creator and God the same? And yes, in many indigenous cultures, right, Creator is another word for God, or what I prefer to use is Creator or Great Mystery, Great Spirit. The other question that's been asked is it matter which direction to face during the ceremony? And again, this answer is no. You can actually face any direction. Oftentimes, we will make a prayer in the morning with water, and to allow the rays of the rising sun to bless the water as well. Then we'll also stand facing the east. But today, because this ceremony is also in relationship to not only an honoring of the earth, but also to the moon, because that plane is more vertical rather than horizontal, then it does not really matter the direction that you face. Yeah. So another question that was posed is, I noticed that you ended with Mitakwie Oyasin. When you open your ceremony, is this a good way to end as well? And the answer is yes. So both, throughout a ceremony, you will often hear the words Mitakwie Oyasin spoken, both at the conclusion of prayers as well as the beginning, or when one wants to maybe draw attention to themselves by wanting to ask a question in the ceremony, for example. And so the word comes from Lakota. It means all of my relations. And so, yes, that is a very fine way to conclude your prayer, open a ceremony, as well as close a ceremony. And thank you for that question. Are there any other questions? Okay. So if there aren't any further questions, then I would like to continue the ceremony and kind of share with you some ways that I think are vital in order for individuals to maintain their balance in this time. Right? As a result of, shall we say, the involuntary vision quest, or this forced sequestration, nevertheless, it is still vital in order to go outside with appropriate physical distancing, naturally. I prefer not to use the word social distancing because it does imply alienation and social isolation, but rather spending time outdoors, taking in the sweetness of this air that is has not been this clean and clear in 20 years. You can actually notice the purity of the air is really an important part of us maintaining our balance. So making sure that we're taking in full breaths, as I said, placing your feet on the earth, connecting to her, right? This is a way that we can actually help to honor and fulfill the prophecies that were shared, mentioned in the beginning of our ceremony, that this time had been seen and foreseen by visionaries and dreamers from indigenous cultures. And the other aspect of that ceremony is that those who maintain an intimate and abiding relationship with the natural world will tend to prevail. And so I really encourage all of you to spend that time to also use this as an opportunity to cultivate a deeper spiritual practice in whatever tradition has called you. And so to engage in daily practices of prayer and meditation. I think it's vital that people exercise, right? And also make sure that you are mitigating stress by getting enough sleep as well, right? Because again, the sleeping is also going to help you to dream and receive connections from the ancestors. We have plant medicines that we can use to help maintain our health and our immunity. I'm encouraging everyone to take a multivitamin that is age appropriate at this time. I'm also encouraging people to use elderberry, which is also a very good immune system booster, echinacea, astragalus, zinc. These are all very valuable medicines that can be applied. Taking garlic in as well can also help to boost the immune system, because at this time we must understand that it's not as if that this virus will be eradicated anytime soon. Realistically speaking, even if we look at the epidemiology of other previous epidemics and pandemics. And so it's important for us, therefore, to maintain our spiritual, physical, psychological, and emotional fortitude in this time, particularly as eventually, once a certain degree of immunity has been achieved, that some of the restrictions are going to soften, which also means, therefore, that people will be able to engage in the world again. Well, it doesn't mean that the virus has disappeared, but so therefore it's important that when we begin to engage socially again, in a more active kind of way, that we're still vigilant and aware of how to maintain our strength and our vitality in this time. So those are just a few reflections that I have about how we can, maintain our sense of balance and health, as we must ultimately understand that this too shall pass, right? That we have to acknowledge that impermanence is the truth, and it's not just impermanence when things are going well in our lives, but that infirmity, illness is also something that's ephemeral. And so consequently, this too shall pass, but how we conduct ourselves will determine its longevity here, as well as how we conduct ourselves for our own welfare will determine whether or not we will contract this. And so, maintaining rigorous hygiene should actually be pretty much something that becomes a standard part of your discipline and your regimen. So at this time, I would like to conclude with another prayer, with a blessing for all of you. And this is with sacred holy medicine of tobacco. So I'm going to basically just ignite this, acknowledge the directions, and bless you with it, infusing with this tobacco the prayer that I articulated at the beginning of our ceremony, as well as the prayers that you infused into the water. I had this medicine, this tobacco, on my altar, so it is also absorbed, like the water, the prayers that I had expressed in the beginning, as well as the prayers that all of you infused into the water that you drank. And now that you've drank this water has now coalesced inside the waters of yourself, and so it will ripple from you, right? So now it's time to place moccasins on your prayers, so to speak. It's time to walk these prayers with faith in the world, right? And so to have trust, to have patience for the manifestation of these prayers for yourself and for your loved ones. As you touch people's lives again, right, through, whether it be through phone or through video, as you communicate. And I really encourage you to continue to reach out to those that you love, to remain connected so that you're not isolated, so that we maintain our psychological balance as well. Yeah. And so through this medicine of this tobacco, we will send a visible prayer, sending smoke as it is known. And at the conclusion of that, I will pray my flute and sing just another song, a song of gratitude. Gratitude for your presence here, and gratitude for the spirits that were invoked, who have listened to our prayers, who have been attracted and magnetized by this ceremony. Oh, mita kuriasi. I ask you to take your hands to your heart as we connect our hearts to the moon with this medicine of the flute, and then we will conclude with the thank you song. I express gratitude to Wakantanka, to Great Mystery, Great Spirit, the ancestors, Grandmother Moon, beloved Mother, to all of our relations, to Tate, to the wind that blows outside my window today, carrying our prayers. For all beings in all realms of creation, express gratitude for this opportunity to pray with my relations in this virtual hoop. I ask you, Grandmother, to bless us with good medicine dreams, and I express gratitude to the spirits who were called here, who have touched us in some way to help heal us, to doctor us, to help us achieve balance within the tumultuous times that we are living in, to help us remain in the eye of the tornado, find the still point within ourselves, to trust that we will prevail in time through solidarity. We thank you, and we send a song of gratitude upon our lips to allow our prayers to take flight. I express gratitude to each and every one of you for your participation and your presence in our virtual hoop today. May you be blessed on your journey, prayers for your loved ones, and we look forward to the opportunity to share again. If I may be of service to you in any way, shape, or form, you're welcome to contact me. The email is Phillip with 2 L's, phillip@ancestralvoice.org. You're also welcome to contact me through Facebook, which is Ancestral Voice. And I also receive phone calls, 415-310-0981, 415-310-0981. Please do not hesitate to reach out if I may be of service to you and your family at this time. Prayers and blessings upon your journey, and may you walk with peace and awareness and balance upon this earth, honoring the newness of our grandmother. Please pay attention to your dreams at this time. They will be potent, particularly for the next 4 days. Many blessings. Aho, mitakuye oyatsi. I still have some time, and there's some people still on the call. If you want to unmute yourself and like to share, you're welcome to do so. Anyone care to unmute themselves? All right, many blessings to each and every one of you. Cool. Got some. I see. So the question is, what visions have your ancestors shared with you recently? Virtually every single night, I am blessed with dreams and visions of what is currently transpiring. And what I have been shown is that this is our mother's way of purifying herself. That as a result of our forgetting of our original instructions, which is to be responsible stewards and loving protectors of this earth and all of our relations, that this is her way of helping to jar her children, or her grandchildren more accurately, into remembering who we are and what our role upon this earth is supposed to be. As I had shared earlier, I regard this virus as a teacher, as a mentor, as an elder. Right? Indigenous cultures have reverence and respect for their elders, of which this virus is one of them, along with the elementals, the earth, fire, water, air, the plant nations, and the animal relations that we have. So this is our time to take heed and prayerfully, as restrictions begin to lessen and people emerge from their homes to re-embrace the world, that we don't return to normal. I think what has been normal, and I use those in quotations, in the past is actually unsustainable and not in alignment with equitable, just society that is in proper relationship with the earth and all of her inhabitants and our inhabitants upon this earth. So that's kind of what I have been shown, and my prayer is that this is going to radically alter the way that we relate to one another, to this earth, and that we find constructive and creative solutions that honor all beings and all people. As I mentioned, we see a very significant stratification happening in terms of access to resources, healthcare, etc., even finances. And so I pray that as a result of this, that there is not just the speaking of, but rather the implementation of a more just, equitable society that honors and loves and cherishes this earth and all the other beings that dwell upon her with us. That's what I see and pray for, so that this time of inward gazing is not squandered, right? That we're actually using this. Just so, for example, on the Hamblecha I mentioned earlier, when people will fast without food, water, and sleep, crying for a dream, asking the ancestors to bless them with vision about how they are to serve, that when they return from that vigil, it's time then to walk the prayers and to manifest the visions and the dreams that they have received, so that this world can be improved by the medicine that they are sharing. So, my prayer and certainly my intent, both individually and collectively within my community, is to continue to be of service, and so that the children will no longer suffer as well, because the children have been crying out in terror about seeing the trajectory and the uncertain future that awaits them. And so when we speak about implementing actions and programs that will allow for 7 generations to flourish upon this earth, and 7 generations and beyond, then we need to start having a very different vision of what this is going to be looking like for our future, which we obviously will rely upon our dreams to help us see, right? But also we move beyond the inaction of rhetoric into engagement, that we actually do make a difference in the world, and we don't allow politics to interfere and slow down the movement toward creating a just and equitable society, but to elect leaders and to place people in positions of responsibility who are willing to be compassionate and listen and selflessly serve the people, rather than whatever their own self-absorbed agendas may be. So those are just a few of my thoughts about how we can collectively shape-shift the tide, so that all of us can live in this world in a balanced, loving, and compassionate kind of way. So I thank you for that question. And I too am feeling a deep peace and quiet inside as a result of the ceremony and all of your participation with me. So I thank you for that. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so the question is, how can we prepare ourselves before bed for greater visions in our dreams? Again, beautiful, beautiful question. So I think it's important to implement a ritual. And, a ritual for me is not something that's done without awareness, but rather a ritual is where we establish a rhythm for our lives and ourselves. So to enhance dreaming and to really foster and invite dreams in, um, to getting yourself into a particular rhythm before bedtime is important. I would encourage you, all of you who are still listening, to um, kind of turn off any sort of electronics before bed. You know, oftentimes people will be actually watching television in their bedrooms, and I have no electronics in my dreaming space whatsoever. I personally believe that enhances dreaming significantly. So turning off the television, turning off one's cell phone, not gazing at this technology before bed is very constructive. I also would recommend perhaps doing some kind of meditation or prayer before bed. You can articulate the intention through prayer to ask the ancestors to bless you with a good medicine dream, as well as the ability to remember it in the morning. That's a very key factor, because oftentimes people will have very profound dreams in their nocturnal journeys, but then they do not recall them in the morning. So it's important to make sure that you add that as a component of your prayer, that you remember it in the morning. Therefore, it's also important to have a journal and a writing implement nearby so that once you wake from your slumber, you can roll over, pick up your journal, and begin writing down what you recall. Everything that you do recall is very significant. So those are a few suggestions. If you have difficulty sleeping at night, I would also recommend the plant medicine valerian. It's very good for insomnia. Also, there's a medicine known as mugwort, and mugwort is a medicine for dreaming. So as a part of a practice of self-nurturance, rather than taking a tincture before bedtime, I recommend taking some time to boil some water and make a tea. And so you allow the medicine to steep in the water, and then you drink it as an act of self nourishment and nurturance before bed as well. So those are a few of the practices that I would recommend to help you to enhance the ability to receive and recall dreams. So yeah, the question is there a way to ask for protection against negativeness? Just so you know, the listeners there, I'm not one to believe in positive and negative. I don't embrace the Christian theology, and so I don't believe in good and evil, positive and negative. I believe there's just energy, and there's energies that flow that are that bring harm, and others that bring healing, which can also be very relative to every individual, right? So there's certain individuals that work with different medicines. So I think about, for example, individuals that work with, like the Heyokas in the Lakota tradition who work with lightning medicine, for example, like myself. It's actually can be a very challenging medicine for other individuals, but I'm accustomed to working with that, right? Similarly, there are, I think about rattlesnake medicine people, for example, that allow themselves to be bitten by snakes and transmute that poison and that medicine within them to gain the ability to transmute other poisons as well. So that'd be potentially deleterious for others, but they're able to work with that. So speaking about the polarities of positive and negative or good and evil, it's just not really a part of the world in which I operate. Similarly, I don't believe in evil spirits as well. There are certainly those who could exact more harm or challenges. I think about, like in the Buddhist canon, they talk about the wrathful deities, but the wrathful deities are actually there to bring challenge and opportunity, not necessarily, to harm us in terms of our lives. But nevertheless, they're quite formidable beings, and so therefore, we learn to exercise vigilance in our relationship with them, and so therefore, they actually serve a purpose on this planet. Similarly, in our own personal lives, perhaps we encounter individuals that are very difficult or challenging. And so are they negative per se? It's like, no, they're actually providing us with opportunities to learn. And so we actually celebrate our tyrants, those that are challenging us, because it helps to hone our awareness. It also helps us to become aware of what our principles and what our values are as a result of the challenges that we encounter from even the people that we meet in our lives. So I was always informed by my mentors, and what I teach my students is that what's the key is fortifying your relationship with the spirits that are entrusted to guide you and watch over you. That's your protection. Right? So by cultivating an intimate relationship with what we regard as your benefactors and your allies, the guardian spirits, the beings in the spirit world who have been entrusted to guide you on your journey on this earth walk, by cultivating a strong relationship with them, then you don't need to worry about protection, because that's part of their responsibility. And as a traditional healer, we are not concerned with protection energetically, because that means I'm focusing more upon my own self and my own concerns, rather than being an instrument in the relief of the suffering of others. So that's part of the teaching that I impart, with my students, that in fact, our objective is to become a hollow bone, to become an empty instrument through which the powers of the unseen, the great mystery, great spirit, the earth, the ancestors, can flow through us for the benefit of others. And so, again, we want to not have a regard or concern for ourselves, because we're being an empty instrument through which really the love of source, earth, ancestors can flow through us to be an instrument in the relief of the collective suffering. And so with that, when we have that kind of relationship with the source and the ancestors that are entrusted to guide us, and the earth herself, then there's nothing for us to be concerned about. Right? There's nothing for us to protect ourselves against, because there's nothing that is an adversary, nothing that's an enemy to us and to our welfare. So thank you for the question, a beautiful one. How would I recommend going about taking a vision quest at this time? Well, actually, depending on where you are located, so I conduct traditional vision quests, which are known as hamblechas, and I do not recommend doing what's actually, traditionally it's not possible to do a hamblecha on one's own, because one is fasting without food, water, and sleep, sequestered in nature, up to 4 days and 4 nights. And so there's an intercessor, a medicine person, who is conducting the ceremony, because there's actually very elaborate and traditional protocols that are observed. And also, as a result of the sacrifice that an individual is making, there is a fire that's being tended to for the entire duration of time. there's individuals in base camp who are eating, drinking, and sleeping for you in this window of time. So participating in a traditional vision quest is certainly not possible, given that there are many shelter-in-place orders around this nation. And I would not recommend just going off alone to do it, because you want to make sure that you are safeguarded by having individuals who are overseeing your sacrifice. Now, that said, I do believe that in this time, it's certainly possible to fast. I think fasting is also a very powerful way of purification of the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. So maybe, perhaps, fasting from solids, that is, not taking solid foods, but continuing to drink liquids, could be a very powerful way of flushing the system of toxins as well. It's also important, if you're going to do that, that you slowly introduce foods that are easily digestible at the end of whatever the duration of time you wish to fast. I would recommend more than 2 days, no more than 4. And again, you want to be drinking water and coconut water, diluted fruit and vegetable juices, miso soups, vegetable broths, etc. I would still always encourage you to inform others that you're doing this as well, particularly if you happen to be living in a space with others right now in more confined areas due to the shelter-in-place orders, because when you do fast, certain things are going to arise, right? Issues, your mood may alter as well, and so you want to at least advise individuals around you that you're going to be undertaking a fast, because they also could then also eat and drink for you, and so you can actually feel energetically their consumption, which can also boost your energy as you dive into fasting, which is a very potent form of purification. So again, participating in a traditional Hamblicha may not be feasible at this time, but once opportunities open up again, you're certainly welcome to contact me. I do conduct a Hamblicha every year in October, but there is actually, for traditional quests, there's quite a bit of preparation that's involved in advance, and so which is outside of the scope of our meeting here. But you're welcome to contact me for further information to participate in any of the traditional ceremonies that I conduct. So thank you for the question. So the question is, what kind of physical objects may help us in keeping visual or physical connection with spirits and source? Well, what I recommend is that, very simply stated, constructing an altar that is comprised of earth, air, fire, and water. That is probably the most effective focusing tool that there is. And so I recommend having 1 or 2 altars in your home. And I believe in May, there will be, I will be devoting an entire session to protocols regarding prayer, as well as the construction of a sacred altar. So I would encourage you to join us for that meeting. And if you're interested in the information, you're welcome to email me again, Phillip, Phillip, @ancestralvoice.org. But simply stated, having an altar that you consult on a regular basis is a very beautiful way of having a method to focus your concentration on the source and on the sacred. So with that, I wish to express my gratitude to each and every one of you. One thing that the Healers Collective requested, and I believe there's not too many individuals yet on the call, but we do ask for reciprocity for the sharing and the ceremonies that are being done. In my tradition, we never charge actual money, but we do ask for reciprocity in the form of donations. So if you're compelled and if you receive good medicine today, we certainly appreciate that. That allows my institute to continue to offer these ceremonies. And so you're welcome to use my email address, and you can go to PayPal if you care to, and use a friends and family option, and could express your gratitude through a donation that will allow us to continue to offer these virtual hoops as well as ceremonies. So I thank you all again for your attention, for your participation. I wish you many blessings in your life. And again, if I can be of service to you, please don't hesitate to contact me. Please walk with awareness, safety, health, and blessings. Oh, mitaki o yasi. Yes, I believe the recorded call will be available. Take care.